It having reached the hour of 5:30, I am calling the December 6, 2022 Modesto City Council meeting to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Vice Mayor Wright.
Here.
Councilmember Scutierrez-Brayton.
Here.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Here.
Councilmember Ricky.
Here.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
And Mayor Zwellen.
Here. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation from Pat Nagel from Redeemer Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening because you are good and loving. And it's out of your goodness that a wonderful council like this has been put together to serve our city. So we just want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for the blessing that we have to assemble freely so our city might benefit from wisdom, experience, and insight. And we thank you for each person serving in leadership, for each person in attendance, for those absent who have contributed to the agenda this evening. We humbly ask that this evening would be an extension of your wisdom and love, that the fruit of this meeting would be positive and helpful, uplifting and dignifying for each member of our city. May each item, even the smallest item, on our agenda be handled with care so the city would benefit greatly. And may your love and grace be on each of us here. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Does the city clerk have any announcements?
Yes, Mayor. Just a reminder, public comment is 3 minutes, and there are blue speaker cards as you enter the chamber doors.
Thank you. Do any of the council members have any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, will the city attorney report out on closed session, please?
Yes, Mayor. The City Council met today for closed session and discussed a few items dealing with property negotiations, anticipated litigation, and existing litigation. No reportable action was taken.
All right, thank you. Next is public comment period. Does anyone wish to speak on any item under public comment? And this is for items not on the council agenda, and each person has 3 minutes to speak. So far, I have 3 blue cards in person. The first is Jerry Thompson.
Yes, I'm back again. On behalf of the Modesto Cruisers Council, we had a very enjoyable time at the Modesto Christmas Parade. Even though it was a little wet and a little soggy, I don't know about you, I felt like I just came out of the swimming pool when I got home. But I want to discuss also about giving you guys a challenge about helping lifting the cruising ban. Reach out to the city council members for the city of Sacramento, the city of San Jose, because they have lifted their bans. By reaching out and talking to them, maybe they can help you get more insight about the benefits when they lifted their ban in their cities, about how things weren't like they thought originally that happened 30 years ago. So by doing this challenge, I request, and city manager, request that you reach out to the city manager for Sacramento and San Jose also. Hopefully they can enlighten you and help you make a good decision on helping us get this ban lifted, because it's not for my generation, it's for the younger generation. And then I started looking into the history about cruising, and it started back in the 40s, but it started with the farm workers. It started with people in agriculture, because that was a pastime that they could afford back then. There's people still like that to this day. They don't have the college degrees, they don't have the high-paying jobs that they can travel and do other things. Sometimes they're stuck in these areas in the communities that they live in because that's all they can afford. So by lifting this ban, it brings back and it carries on a tradition of our culture with the cruising. So I ask and request that you will put this on the agenda to be brought as a vote to lift this ban, because it's not only benefiting Modesto, but it's benefiting and helping the younger generation, to help them understand our culture, to carry on our culture, because this cruising does have a rich history, and it's more involved than I even realized. When I was a kid, I was out there just cruising. But it goes a lot more back history than I'm starting to see. So thank you.
You're welcome. I do not see anyone online with hands raised. Is that correct? Oh, here we do. Ramon Rodriguez.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm here to speak again, and this is for the 100th time again, that earlier article on the Modesto B of the district attorney decide not to pursue investigation or charges against Officer Muncie for his use of force that resulted in the death of Paul Chavez. Not surprised, again, but leads to the whole community member that there is no accountability even to the DEAs, and proves that she's allowing this, letting killer cops go around doing their business, when I warned a couple of times in the Forward Together meeting that such incidents like this is going to result in the officer committing another use of force incident that will result in injury or death. And this is not acceptable. I'm asking again to fire Muncie as well as Officer Dustin Espinosa for beating up Alonso, because he still hasn't got justice. Alonso hasn't got justice, and you let the officer that attacked him still on the job, and he's also involved in another use of force incident almost 2 years prior to Alonso. When you guys gonna smell the coffee and realize that you got an issue with a cult warrior mentality issue with Modesto Police Department, even though we have Forward Together meetings and everything? And this is why we're asking for accountability for an independent auditor and a civilian review board, because we need that bad. And if we guys don't vote on either the independent auditor or the civilian review board, but most importantly, the independent auditor, it's going to happen again. We're going to see more Trevors, more Paul Chavez, more Alonso, and a couple more incidents involving police. But hey, I've read other stories about how the police department handled intense situations with people involving mental crisis. But in recent incidents involving the Trevor Seaver and Paul Chavez, what the officers do? Nothing. They just kill them, and we still are fighting for justice. So I consider you to start cleaning up and getting rid of the culture warrior mentality in Modesto Police Department, because you know it's going to do, and allowing this, it's going to cost the city millions. It's going to cause a lot of problems, and it's got to stop right now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, in person, Steve.
With all the talk going on in this community the last couple of years about building trust, I think it would be extremely respectful and professional and considerate of you, Ms. Wallen, if you would not change the order of things that you do during the council meetings in order to throw the community off and make it harder for people to show up and speak. Now, yes, I'm interpreting it that way, but I'm not just doing that out of the middle of nowhere. I see a pattern. You lied to us about how these meetings are required to be conducted. You still will not own up to it. You can stare me straight in the eye right now and hold your ground all you want, but we caught you in a lie and we called you out on it, and you don't feel morally or legally obliged to explain either why you lied or the misunderstanding that must have ensued. You guys show time and time again that you value your lives and the lives of other power holders in this community more than us normal folks. Paul Chavez should not be dead. Sam Muncie should not be out on the street wielding a deadly weapon, and the force of an obviously corrupt government in this town. It's disgusting. There's no reason at all you can't give us 5 minutes to speak. You do a lot of things to control and stifle the voice of the people. What I see before me and in the back of the room, presumably half of them with a grin on their face, I see power. But you know what? You hold the power, but we, the people of this community, are morally right because we're coming to you. Okay? And none of you are willing to use your voice to stand up for what is obviously right. Watch those videos. Don't even try to pretend to tell me that that's policing and they needed to do that. The Modesto Bee, I can't help but to think intentionally left out a lot of extremely crucial details from that article that just came out about the murder of Paul Chavez. One of them being that your police officer showed up to a dude that was laying on the grass in the shade. I don't care what he heard before. Police should be able to assess the situation and proceed with professionalism and courtesy in regard for our safety and theirs. But what they did is they showed up, the dude already had his gun pointed at a guy taking rest in the shade. They created a situation. Flanagan's obviously lying. The reason she uses would not hold up in a freshman level MJC logic course. Give me a break. They go at him all aggressively, and then her excuse is, well, everybody knows 15 feet's not enough to kill a guy that you imagine hypothetically endangering you in your mind. You are corrupt. You need to own up to the will of this people. We're tired of you excusing all of this killing.
All right, next online, I see Gavin Bruce.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for hearing me out today. I want to echo the concerns of my past fellow residents about the Modesto Police Department's use of force on our fellow civilians, specifically Paul Chavez. I saw the video. Officer Sam Muncie was way too ready and too quick to pull out his weapon and escalate that situation. I saw the video. It was not self-defense, clearly. I hope all of you have watched it as well, because there's very little other conclusions you could come to except that Sam Muncie was in the wrong there. He needs to be fired from the force. There should be zero toleration for that type of behavior on the police in the police department. He needs to be fired, and he needs to be held accountable and prosecuted. And it, as you all know, it erodes trust among the public with the police department if these officers are not held accountable. The longer they stay in the police department, the longer this type of culture is allowed to continue, the less trust the public has in the police department. Every time I hear the helicopter flying over my neighborhood, which is pretty much every single night, and I know they're not doing it pursuing crime. They fly the helicopter around because of needing to show that they're using it or whatever it is. But every time I hear that thing flying around, I always think of this use of force that they inflict on our communities, and the fact that they're not being held accountable. And it just boils my blood. Again, Officer Sam Muncie needs to be fired, and he needs to be held accountable. And the Modesto Police Department needs to purge itself of all of this militaristic culture, I think, as the previous speaker had mentioned. Thank you. We need justice for Paul Chavez. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Patrick Thomas.
In Burgett's letter to the chief, she stated that common sense tells us that 15 feet is not a lot of distance between you and someone that means to do you harm. So Officer Muncie placed himself in the situation of 15 feet. Paul Chavez was trying to create distance. Paul was trying to create distance, not Muncie. Okay? He never once tried to engage with Officer Muncie whatsoever. Muncie engaged with Paul the entire time. I've yet to be pulled over by MPD, but if it does happen, I'll be terrified for my life. I'll freeze up. I know to have my hands where officers can see them. I regret buying my home in Modesto. I now have to fund the corruption with my tax dollars. A coward killed my best friend. He killed him in cold blood. Nobody cares. None of you can say that you watched that video and say it was right. It's sad. Chief Gillespie, you should be ashamed to have a two-time killer like Sam Muncie being the face of your department. You know the term one bad apple? That's derived from one bad apple will spoil the bunch. Paul was one of the most genuine human beings I've known, and now he's dead because of your officer's terrible problem-solving skills. Before my friend Paul was killed, I supported the thin blue line without a question. Paul supported police without question. I repeat, Paul supported police without question. He was murdered by the same police he trusted and he supported without question. Chief, are you going to allow the bad apple to spoil the good name of Modesto Police Department? I also asked Chief, do you want to go down in history as the spineless chief of Modesto Police that didn't take a stand for police brutality? This shit shouldn't stand. Look, I'm not a criminal. I work for a school district. I am trusted with other people's children all the time, okay? But yet, I fear for my life anytime I see a police. When I see Modesto police cars cruising the streets, I'm scared. I'm scared as shit, okay? I'm a taxpayer just like each one of you, okay? I own home, I pay property taxes. This shit shouldn't be allowed in Modesto. It really shouldn't. Excuse my French, but I'm frustrated, okay? Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, online, I see KS.
Hi, my name is Karen Sutherland, and I'm calling in regards to the killing of Paul Chavez. Officer Muncie needs to be fired and charged. There's no question about that. Watching that video, Paul was no threat. He was drunk. I mean, how many of you have been drunk, had a few too many? You know, this could have ended with anybody the same way. That's what needs to be realized, that anybody could be a victim of these tyrant cops, okay? Just because he was holding a trailer hitch, he was holding a trailer hitch. You know, he wasn't given any time to, like I said, he was inebriated. That did not give that officer any excuse to kill that man at all. He needs to be fired. He needs to be charged. He never needs to be a police officer again, ever. If your city's cops are that scared, such as with La Mantilla immediately killing unarmed Trevor Seaver, then they definitely don't need to be police officers that are sworn to protect and serve the community. Modesto is getting a reputation for their militant police force. These tyrant cops need to be held accountable. You guys should not allow this. Something needs to be done. We need to feel safe with law enforcement and not fear for our lives anytime they're called to help. We need justice for Paul and justice for Trevor and all lives that have been brutalized or killed by cops. Please do something. Please stop this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, we have Alyssa Hager.
So I'm going to talk about my brother Paul, who was murdered on July 14th. We've normalized homicide from badges for way too long. I want to talk about what used to be justified 20 years ago and what used to be justified 40 years ago. And how many of you lived that? None of you are 20 years old. Not one of you are 30 years old. I guarantee when you were 30 years old, how many drinks did you have on a frustrating week? When you have 3 kids, 2 jobs, you never have a day off, and you're trying to do everything so your wife can stay home and live a good American life. Now I want to ask, what we think justified today and what has been justified 20 years ago is very different. History repeats itself, and that's why we must learn it and learn from it. Now, I want to welcome District 5. I haven't seen you. Welcome. I'm pleased to see a different color on our staff. I'm pleased to see a different male on our staff because it seems to me like the same faces have done nothing. It seems to me that you guys don't care about the next generation. So I'm going to show you what 20 years from now looks like. So I brought my children. So all the kids need to stand up. All you kids stand up. In 20 years, these kids will be 25, 30 years old. These kids will be speaking here. These kids will know what real justification is. Because what we have supported, our DA of what justification is absolutely absurd and untolerated. It's absolutely disgusting, and I am frustrated that you guys are pleased to represent that. I am disgusted that you guys think that it's okay to walk around saying that I agree with that woman. Because that woman needs to resign. Because I'll tell you what, if you know the law, whatever phone call he got before that, that officer never got it. So justify that he had what they thought was a trail hitch, what seemed to be a trail hitch in his hand. He's drunk. He's walking, I know my brother, he's walking like it's a beer bottle in his hand because he was awakened on the front lawn. He never rose it because he thought it was a beer. Let me tell you, my brother would never waste a beer. He's walking like this because he thinks it's a beer. So when you're telling him to drop it, remember, everybody just told him to stop drinking before he passed out. So let me talk to you about PTSD. All of you guys got it. Because you are supporting a woman who is justifying common sense says that 15 feet says that that's enough time to kill someone? Are you serious? 15 feet? Okay, common sense. Let me tell you about physics. What does distance equal? Speed divided by time. Speed divided by time. Now let me tell you something about 15 feet divided by 1.5 seconds. How much time did he have? Looks like there was 3 feet in between. A gun bullet. Talk about physics again, because I know none of them have taken enough courses to know that. Do you guys know about physics? Because I know you guys know about how long and how far a bullet would take and what a curvature of a bullet takes.
Alyssa?
So let me tell you something. My time's not up. I sat here, and you know what? You changed the whole roundabout of how this is supposed to sit. So I get to change it now. You're bad. Guess what? When you lie, that means everything that comes out your mouth is a lie. You're bad.
That's right.
So guess what? It's my time to speak now because my brother's gone. My brother's gone. You look at my next generation. I'm going to show them that they're a part of something that will change. You know what my son said today? Why are we going here? I said, we're going to change the law. He said, how do we do that? I said, oh, we're going to show them that things that matter to us, we're not going to stand for things that don't matter. And we're going to stand for what we believe in. I don't care if you guys say it's justified or not. 30 years ago, it was okay to spray water on black people because what? Because you didn't want them in the spot that you wanted them? That was justified?
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
That's right.
But 20, 30 years ago, it was okay, right?
That's right.
30 years ago, it was okay to spit on a gay person, right? Oh, but it's okay now, right? So what's up with today? I want to talk about tomorrow. How we gonna fix tomorrow for my babies to grow up in a culture that's right from God? Not from, I don't know, whatever you guys are posted up on, but it ain't right. I will lead the next generation when you crumble. Time will pass, and I'll be here, and they'll be next. And I'll know what's right. And I'll fight for what's right. I'm just showing them that this is exactly what is not. And this way of thinking is what post-traumatic stress disorder is. That I can't believe that you guys really tolerate that way of thinking, and that's really your strain of thought. Your thought process is disgusting, and I'm glad that none of my kids were raised by you. Because who's to say if they cried, you would just beat them and throw some water on them?
Okay.
Is that justified?
Yeah,
I want to ask you, is it justified? Because you never answer any of my questions. Do you think that that's justified? I want to know did you watch the video? And did you believe that that was 15 seconds? And did you know that my mother was calling him and that they never told him? They never told her, stop speaking to him because we're trying to get this situated? They never said that. They threw themselves in their way. And in military standards, that is not the way you conduct business. Your training is what got them killed, and it'll get the next one killed. You may speak now.
All right, next is Teresa.
That was the old school generation before it was corrupted.
Hello, Council. Mayor. Welcome. Like my daughter, that was my daughter, Alicia, that Mayor Sue loves to pronounce wrong for the last 4 months that we've been here. But everything she said, I agree with. I am the mother-in-law of Paul Chavez. Paul Chavez's parents passed away many years ago. I'll just update you. He's been in our family since he was 15 years old. Been married to my daughter. Their anniversary was in November, and Thanksgiving was his birthday. He would have been 31. So she got to spend her anniversary month and the first major holiday and his birthday grieving. Still no answers, still no accountability. That boy has been in our life. He's my kid. We raised him. And like many parents, there's always that one child that you struggle with, you know? Sometimes they're just a little bit more difficult, and you try to kind of get them on the right path, but you know, when you have a substance abuse, it's not always that easy. You can't just say stop.
30 seconds.
And everything goes back to normal. It's an adjustment. My son came to us that day. He came to get sober. And he was so intoxicated that he couldn't hear anything we were saying. And intoxicated people are frustrated. He was taking new meds. And he was treated like a piece of crap. Like he didn't matter. You know, and Modesto PD acts as if they didn't know who Paul Chavez was, but they did. Because in this report has every incident and every encounter that they claim they didn't know. They claim they didn't know who Paul Chavez was when they approached our house that day. This says otherwise. I was never in any threat of my son. He would have never, ever done anything. And if he had wanted to, he would have did it before I left to get the pizza, because I stood right in front of him and told him not to leave as I was leaving my house. I'll be right back. I'm bringing that pizza. We're hoping to sober him up. So when he goes and falls asleep on the grass, and I come up and Officer Muncie tells me to get in the house because I don't even know, my son's off to the side of me in the neighbor's yard. I'm thinking everybody's at my house. So I walk that way. So to me, that's intent. You already knew what you were going to do. You already had plans. You're getting me out of the way so you can move on and do what you already wanted to do. You had no intention of coming there and de-escalating anything. And that is your job to protect and serve. I moved my entire family to Modesto. I moved my businesses to Modesto. I bought property in Modesto! Do you know how upset? 3 months after my children moved here, Paul didn't want to come. He didn't want to leave. You know his biggest complaint was, I don't trust the cops in Modesto. They're really young. They're not vets. They don't have that maturity as cops should have. And we assured him it was going to be better. Just get here. It'll be better. And he got here. And it wasn't better. And the DA is disgusting. And anybody, I said nothing that was on this paper, by the way, because I sat and I wrote something out, and I know my time is up, Sue. I'll save this for the next one. But all I need to say to you is, you guys are in a position of authority, and you have titles, and you have things that you can do. And for you all to sit on a panel and claim to be for the people and for the Modesto, and the mayor holds keys, and all this nonsense, but for you not to do anything and not to put your foot down and say what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, is absolutely disappointing and disgusting to me. So I hope that that just sits with you, and I hope that you will do something and try to make a change and try to make this officer accountable, because at the end of the day, those two little boys over there, Josiah, who is 5 years old, and Paul Chavez III, who is 8 years old, their brother Abraham isn't here tonight. That those two little boys adored their daddy, no matter what Sam Muncie thought of him. And for the rest of their lives, they don't get their daddy. The daddy that paid the bills. The daddy that wasn't a deadbeat. The daddy that went to work. The daddy that tried to provide and make sure his kids and his family had everything besides the fact of whatever his faults were.
We all have it.
Yep. Thank you.
Welcome. Next is Brittany.
Good evening, murderers. See, you are who you hang out with. You are who you socialize with. You are what you put out and don't make right. Their sins, their bullcrap, that falls on your hands. You may think you're untouchable now. Yeah, you might just be. Who knows? But remember, God is God. You're just nothing but blood, flesh, and bone. So whether it gets seen on this world or when you pass, you will have to answer those questions. One thing that my pastor always asked: the life that I gave you, what did you do with it? I bet none of you guys can answer anything good, except for sitting on your ass and collecting a paycheck. Nice, congratulations for not doing shit. Let's get to this real quick. Officer Muncie was standing by Officer Valencia. He had his firearm drawn as a precaution for Officer Valencia. Standard practice for two officers in similar circumstances to have one officer use, quotation, less lethal weapons, and the other officer to have the lethal option available. Officer Muncie was aware of Chavez and his behavior when Chavez had been drinking, having been one of the officers involved in the June 26th incident when Chavez was placed on a 5150 hold.
Yep.
Come on now.
Are you For real? Oh, during the incident, Officer Muncie had to escort the ambulance to the hospital with Chavez, and it because Chavez was combative with the EMT. But y'all didn't know that shit, right?
He said it didn't happen.
Oh, yeah. When they all came up, nobody knew anything. No one knew anything. I even looked at the sergeant and said, so you're telling me that you didn't know that my husband had just relapsed and that he was just taken to a 5150 Hope and that he's on medication? We don't know any of that. We don't have any of that stuff that comes up. Your district attorney's a dumbass because she just printed it and gave it to everybody.
Who's the liar?
Damn.
Him?
Damn. And you know, everything that I'm reading out of this is redundant. There's that word again. It sounds so retarded that I had to stop reading it and had to laugh and said, are they for real right now? You just said tell your DA she's an idiot. You need a new one. Seriously, you need a new DA. She's a dumbass.
No, we need a new DA.
Well, we need a new DA. Yeah, you're right. Last thing. Actually, two things. The officers immediately starting first aid, but Chavez did not survive his wounds. Let me tell you something. I witnessed it all. My mom witnessed it all. We have it on camera. Nobody started crap. Except, and when it says those two officers did, bull crap. It was a sergeant who came and grabbed a patch and stuck it over so that way nobody could see the oozing of the blood coming out of him as we're standing there, screaming at him, help him, turn him on his side. I'm not even a freaking registered nurse and I know what to do. This is what you guys have? Seriously?
No urgency.
No urgency at all. I'm gonna end it with this. We all have bad days. Get it, got it, understand?
I don't feel anything on mine.
Nope, neither do I. But, except for you, you're new. Everyone else that's on this council, I like your wife. So maybe not so much you, I don't know yet. Everybody else though, you're gonna have bad days. Those bad days are gonna turn into weeks. Those weeks will turn into months, and those months will turn into years. And when you realize how much more bad that you have than good, you're gonna remember this conversation. And this conversation is gonna come repeatedly. And then you will say his name, because you will say his name in vain and you will curse his name. That's how much bad that each and every one of you that had a partake in this to do nothing right for my husband. Remember that. My God's a vengeful God. He's got my back. He ain't got sinners' backs.
That's right. Amen.
Nice job. You don't do shit.
Next is Darlene Ruiz.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Trevor Seaver's mom. For some of the council members I haven't met. I'm here to support Paul Chavez as well. Our town needs de-escalation and not an officer to shoot and kill in 20 seconds. We can do better. And we come to you every week asking you to help us make our city better. We need de-escalation. I know that you guys have a family to go home to. December 29th will be 2 years since we lost Trev. We spent yesterday decorating a Christmas tree at the grave. Our life will never be better. We just learned to deal with the pain and try to honor Trevor in making our city better. And that's really what I want to do. I know that next week you guys are going to vote on Forward Together. And I pray, Jeremiah and Nick, I've spoke to you, and Eric, that you spend some time and really read what Forward Together has proposed for our city, because I think it'll be wonderful if we could do that for our city and not a watered-down version. We need an independent police auditor. We need a civilian review board. We need a mental crisis 24 hours a day. We need police not to police themselves. The DA, a lot of those officers or district attorneys used to be police officers. There is a conflict. They shouldn't be investigating their own buddies. And I just hope we can count on you guys to put Forward Together and bring some trust into our city and make it a safer city like it should be for these kids and for everybody else that still lives here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next online, we have Marla.
Me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, I'm Marla Seaver, and I am Trevor's aunt, Darlene's sister-in-law, and I'm here to support a family who never wanted to belong to the club that we belong to. I understand you have a limit of what you can, but you guys, all of you on there, welcome to the new board members. You really need to look at these officers, especially Modesto Police Department. I have not heard anything good about the new recruits. What I'm hearing from other officers is they're too green. That generation, like somebody else had said earlier, they're not military who have gotten out of the military, now they want to keep up and go into law enforcement. These are young men who are still wet behind the ears, and they want to shoot first and ask questions later. One of the hardest things I had to do a little over a week ago is listen to LaMantia's, let's just say I laughed at the stuff he supposedly said after the killing, because he knew he screwed up. He knew he had just murdered his 5th person. And I flat out told the DA they're at fault. Because I'll give him, yeah, he was released and cleared the first one, but I'm sorry, somebody is sick in the head and they're okay to murder a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 5th. And there is a 6th person out there that he tried to murder. Let that lay on your heart. And we've talked about this, Mayor, and let that lay on your heart. What if one of those was your family member, your son, your daughter? We need to get assistance out there. We need Forward Together. We need a civil review board, and we also need a special prosecutor. I'm sorry, but our DA, I have not had faith in her at all. She received money from all these different organizations for her campaigns, and so she will not go after them. I am happy she will no longer be the DA, because hopefully the next DA will have his cojones and actually go after bad cops. There's a lot of good cops out there. There's a lot of great law enforcement out there. But the sad thing is their goodness is overshadowed by all the bad. LaMantia is the worst. He is, how did anybody, whether it be you, and none of you were, some of you may not have been there, but how did you let this man commit murder a 5th time? He is now a serial killer. Please really think, take all this to your heart, and really look at this and get things going. I appreciate you listening to me, and have a wonderful evening.
You too, thank you. Next is Ray Ruiz.
Hi, you guys. Well, I'm just kind of piggyback on my wife, but with the recent news that you're not looking into the death of Paul Chavez and prosecuting Officer Muncie, I just think says it all. How important it is that this city has an independent police auditor. Well, in 23 days, we'll mark 2 years that we lost Trevor. I mean, I'm a wreck, and he was just my stepson. I mean, Darlene's a wreck times 50. It just says everything that this city needs to be held accountable for what's happened. And an independent police auditor would be the best thing that could happen. I mean, obviously in 3 weeks, it's going to be 24 months. I've been coming up here or calling in for probably 22 months asking for an independent police auditor. You guys have got all the information about Anaheim. I've spoken extensively with Michael Giannacco and the chief of police of Anaheim, and he said if you don't do an independent police auditor and you only do a civilian review board, it won't work. It's the coward's way out. You got to have both. We just need to be held accountable, be the best thing for the city. We know what Anaheim pays. They pay like $150,000 a year for a police auditor. They're a bigger town than us, so maybe it only costs us $100,000. That's a drop in the bucket for what we have now in this tax reform. You know, I have a really good friend, and I'll end with this. I have a really good friend who's 84, practicing attorney still. And 20 or 22 months ago, when I started talking about this police auditor and how I would like the city to get it, he goes, I hate to tell you this, Ray. And I didn't believe him, but I kind of believe him now. He goes, I hate to tell you this, Ray, but the DA and the cops all drink at the same bar every night. And, you know, I didn't want to believe that, but I get the impression City Council doesn't want an independent police auditor. I hope next Tuesday you guys prove me wrong. Thanks.
You're welcome. Next online is Anna.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we sure can.
Awesome, thank you. 26 seconds. I think this is the part of the murder of Paul Chavez that keeps getting overlooked. It took Sam Muncie 26 seconds to murder Paul. Let's talk about this 15 feet bullshit. What sounds shorter to you, 15 feet or 26 seconds? If Sam Muncie was so concerned for his safety, why didn't he take a step back or two? If the officers were so concerned, why did only Sam Muncie shoot Paul? Was the other officer less scared? Was he further back from Paul than Muncie was? Because to me, it looked like they were side by side. Now let's talk about the hitch he was holding that's being used as a scapegoat. It's being used as an excuse to make the murder of Paul justified. Did he lift the hitch? Did Paul swing the hitch? Did he tell those officers he was going to murder them with that hitch? I mean, I didn't hear that in the video, but maybe I missed something. Chief, did I miss that part in your amazingly edited video? Tell me, what did Paul do in those 26 seconds before he was murdered? Got it, I know the answer. He didn't comply. No de-escalation tactics were used. No life-saving measures were taken after he was shot. Those officers did nothing but murder Paul and destroy the family. Paul needed help, not to be murdered. I want you to look at those boys in front of you sitting out there. Remember their faces, learn and know their names, because you're protecting and backing their father's murderer. You need to do better, or you're going to keep ending up with more family members here pissed at you for not making a change and correcting the issues with the police department that keep resulting in more people being murdered by the Modesto Police Department. Paul Chavez was murdered because he was given only one option. You're right, comply or die.
All right, I do not have any more blue cards. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward to speak under public comment? All right, at this time, next on the agenda is consent items. An item may be removed from consent and discussed at the request of a member of the public or council member. Is there anyone on the council that would like a consent item removed for further discussion?
You suck too.
Seeing none, is there anyone in the public that would like an item removed from consent for further discussion or comment? All right. Seeing none, will the city clerk please read the consent items?
Item 1, consider approving the minutes from the November 1st, 2022 council meeting. Item 2, consider approving the 2023 calendar of regularly scheduled city council and city council standing committee meetings. Item number 3, consider approving the mayor's appointment to the City of Modesto standing committees and the city council liaison committees and appointment of a vice mayor for the 2023 calendar year. Item 4, consider approving a resolution continuing to authorize remote teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361. Item number 5, consider approving the recommended budget adjustments to fiscal year 2022-2023 annual operating and CIP program budgets. Item 6, consider approving a third amendment to the joint exercise of powers agreement with the County of Stanislaus, amending sections 8.1.3, 8.1.4, and 8.3.3 concerning membership and alternate members appointed to serve as staff member commissioners on the Consolidated Emergency Dispatch Agency Commission, and appointing the Deputy City Manager of Operations to serve as a City of Modesto staff member commissioner and the Deputy City Manager of Support as their alternate to the Consolidated Emergency Dispatch Agency Commission. Item 7, consider accepting an informational report for the September 2022 Accounts Payable Payment Register and Void Report. Item 8, consider accepting an informational report on the July and August 2022 applications and awards. Item number 9, consider accepting the monthly investment report for July 2022. Item 10, consider approving a purchasing agreement for concrete boxes, covers, valves, and fittings to Ferguson Waterworks out of Modesto, Iconics Waterworks out of McClellan, California, and American AVK out of Minden, Nevada, for a total amount not to exceed $3,825,000 over 5 years. Item 11, consider approving an agreement with InfoSend Inc. for forms, printing, and mailing services for a total amount not to exceed $12,051,699 over 8 years. Item 12, consider approving a one-time purchase using competitive bid process from the National Association of State Procurement Officials value point for 8 Life Pack 15 monitors from Stryker Medical out of Chicago, Illinois, for a total amount not to exceed $353,624. Item 13, consider approving an agreement with Sloan Sakai Young and Wong LLP out of Emerville, California, to conduct a compensation study in an amount not to exceed $54,000. Item 14, consider approving an amendment to lease agreement for the modular building at Dryden Golf Course and approving the increase of a purchase order with William Scotsman Inc. out of Fresno, California, for a revised total amount not to exceed $95,000. Item 15, consider approving the First Amendment to the City of Modesto Pandemic Recovery Strategy Modesto Forward Grant Agreement with the Modesto Convention and Visitors Bureau, Inc. for Year 2 allocation of $250,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funding. Item 16, consider approving the Fourth Amendment to agreement with the Baseball Club of Modesto as successor in interest to HWS Baseball LLC to revise the expiration date in the accelerated termination provision from December 31st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023. Item 17, consider approving the purchase and sale agreement for certain real property located at approximately 1300 Scenic Drive, Stanislaus County, APN number 034-018-014 for $795,000 plus $20,000 in anticipated closing costs. Item 18, consider approving an agreement with HDR Engineering, Inc. to conduct a feasibility study for the city's compost facility at 7001 Jennings Road for a total amount not to exceed $97,055. Item 19, consider approving plans and specs for the rebid upgrade traffic signals 2017 project, accepting the bid and awarding a contract to St. Francis Electric LLC of San Leandro, California for a total not to exceed $935,567. Item 20, consider accepting the Upgrade Advanced Traffic Management System 2017 project as complete. Item 21, consider accepting the modular building relocation project as complete, authorizing all necessary steps to file with the county recorder, releasing securities and releasing payments totaling $484,537 to Harris Builders, Inc. of Hillmar, California. Item 22, consider approving an agreement with HSQ Technology out of Hayward, California for the procurement of parts, services, licenses, and support for the Miser and Supervisor Control Data Acquisition System for 2 years with 3 one-year extension options for an annual estimated amount of $145,000 and a total not to exceed amount of $725,000 over 5 years.
Motion to approve all consent items.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Wright and a second from Councilmember Williams. Will the city clerk please please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia Brayton.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro. Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Next on the agenda is council comments and reports. Do any members of the council have any comments and reports? Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to congratulate the Parks and Rec Department for putting on a successful Celebration of Lights ceremony. I know that it rained, but they were troopers in having it rain or shine. So again, thank you to the Parks and Rec Department and all of the city who participated in that, as well as all who participated as entries. I understand that there were about 80 entries, and that is outstanding for a rain down Saturday evening. And so all of you who did come, thank you for coming and participating in the Celebration of Lights. And again, thank you to the Parks and Rec. Also, this coming Saturday at 8:30 is the Spirit of Giving Run. And those that are online or perhaps here today, it is a 5K run, and you can choose to walk it or run it. And it is sponsored by the City of Modesto. Look forward to seeing you out there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Scutia Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor, very much. I also would like to thank all staff and volunteers who made this year's Parade of Lights just immensely enjoyable despite the wet weather. Amazingly, we had approximately 8,000 spectators celebrate us and be there and cheer and show that awesome Modesto spirit. And immensely kudos to the over 200 volunteers that gave of their time to pull this parade off and help us all out. So again, it was a team effort, and it's such a lovely way to begin our holiday season. Also, I wanted to mention that last week I attended what's referred to as the League Leaders Workshop. This was a wonderful opportunity for me to represent Modesto among other municipalities. Every municipality in California was represented there. And the walk away for me was immense learning opportunities and conversations all about valuable issues and initiatives that impact Modesto. And it helps Modesto stay in front of the curb on issues, local issues, statewide issues, federal issues. One item that was discussed is an upcoming highly funded measure, funded to this point in the area of over $16 million. It's a taxation measure, and it will be on the 2024 ballot. It's unclear right now if it will, if at all, and in what capacity it will impact our Measure H. But I know that our legal counsel and our city manager are aware of it and actively analyzing the language, and will be providing us updates as to how it might impact our local measure. But again, this was a venue, a conversation that has us at the table, and I was honored and glad that Modesto was represented. Also, last week I attended an event that celebrated a public safety and roadway improvement, and that was the McHenry Avenue widening project. And what this project did is just expanded a portion of the McHenry roadway, therefore allowing for a safer commute for cars, pedestrians, and bikes. This was a wonderful collaborative project with the city and the state, and I was delighted to be part of that, and again, as a result, the region benefits from this. Those are just a few activities, and I will be attending tomorrow an event at SMSU, South Modesto Business United, where they will be celebrating with the Hispanic and larger community, Las Posadas, and I encourage you all to attend if you don't have those plans already, and we'll be providing food and toys for individuals in need. So a great event. Hopefully you can make it. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Ricky.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to echo the sentiments of my fellow council members. the Christmas parade really was a tremendous event, and I was just thrilled to be able to ride with the Cruising Coalition at the parade. It was amazing. It was my first time in a real, like, legit lowrider, and like, I don't know. Rumor has it there's like a picture somewhere on Facebook of me, like with the car sideways. And
There's a video.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Is it good? It's good.
good.
Oh, it's good. I'd love to, if anyone has a copy, email it to me. I'd love to see it. But anyway, it's pretty awesome. But cruising is part of our culture, and we need to embrace that culture. Modesto needs culture. We need color. We need character. And this is an important part of our culture. We need to look at this seriously. We've seen other cities addressing the ban issue. And we as a community need to talk about it. We need to accept like the decisions we've made in the past and decide together how we're going to deal with it in the future. But I think that there's definitely an important place for cruising, and we need to find out how we're going to do that together. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Forward Together. I'm really excited that Forward Together is coming to us as a council. I think it's a real opportunity for us to strengthen our police department and the community and really work together to make a safer community. So I'm very excited to have that conversation. I'm looking forward to that. I also want to address a Facebook post that I did this week. I posted about how excited I was to have the possibility of hiring a new city auditor. But the graphic I used made it look like maybe our city staff was like hiding something, or was like skeletons in the closet or whatever. That certainly wasn't my intention. Having an auditor to me it's just important because it gives us an opportunity to improve. It gives us an opportunity to find our weaknesses. It gives us an opportunity to be better. I know our staff has incredible amounts of integrity. We win awards time after time for how hard they work and for the quality of their work. So certainly was not trying to do that. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about homelessness. Our homelessness crisis in our community it's just rampant and out of control. I am really pushing on us to find some new measures to try to deal with this issue. Our shelters, there have been numerous nights in the last 2 weeks that our shelters have been completely full, leaving people out on the streets in freezing conditions. There's lots of options that we could be doing as a city. We could be setting up spaces with pallet shelters. We could be trying these new trailer capsules that they have. We could be setting up safe camping. There is stuff we as a city can do, and it's time that we do it. I'm tired of the emails and the calls from my residents in my district. Tell me about what's happening, especially in our parks. It's not getting better. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about abandoned commercial properties. We've got abandoned commercial properties throughout our community that are attracting drugs, crime, blight, prostitution, and it's all because certain landlords just aren't taking responsibilities for their buildings. You know which ones they are. They're the Orchard Supply and the old Save Mart on Pellendale. There's a gas station on Needham. The Long's Drugs on McHenry. I mean, they're just everywhere. And these properties they just hurt the quality of life in our community. And we as a city need to do something about it. Make these landlords take responsibility for their buildings. That's all I got tonight. Thanks.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the public, fellow council colleagues. I also want to give a special thank you to everyone who helped organize the Christmas parade. My family and I had a great time out there despite the rain. And I want to give a special thank you to the Modesto Cruisers Council and the Impalas Car Club for their generosity, professionalism, and service to our community. I'm confident that these organizations are Modesto first type of folks. I also want to highlight the tireless work that the Cruisers Council's chairman, Nathan Sanchez, has been doing for the last several months, not only for the organization's members, but for the community at large. So shout out to him, and I hope to see that continued effort as we work to try to reintegrate cruising back into our city. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have a few brief comments that I will make. I recently was honored to participate in a Healthy Room project that our law enforcement officers do for many young children in our community. They get information about the children's favorite colors. They've been involved with this 10K with the Cop program, so they've run and spent a lot of time with these children. And they surprised the children. The situation that I was able to be involved with, the two young boys went away to school, and when they came home, they found an entire room makeover that our Modesto Police Department had done with their room, along with some of the police department staff and pastors. So they painted the room in their favorite colors, and they provided new beds and desks and furniture. And it is so inspiring to see this, and the joy on the children's faces and the interaction of the children with our law enforcement officers is really inspiring. So that was really fun to participate in once again. I had done this another time also. I tonight want to welcome our new council members. I feel like it's been a while since we've had 7 in-person full Modesto City Council members, so I'm really thrilled that everyone's here this evening, and I can attest to the fact of what I've seen already. They're in the office, they're working hard, they're learning, they're talking with the residents of our community, so we bring all of that to our council meetings so that we can make good decisions for our community. I'm really grateful that I have each council member here tonight, and I'm looking forward to a lot of great work ahead. So thank you so much for that. Jeremiah Williams, did you have your...
Yes, I'm sorry, Mayor. I had a final comment, and I would be remiss if I didn't include Chris Murphy and Matt Swanson, as well as Brian Genie with Collins Electric, who every year always make it possible to do the tree lighting in the plaza, and I want to go ahead and give them a thank you publicly for what they do. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or reports from council members? Next is city manager comments and reports. Does the city manager have any comments at this time?
Yes, just real briefly, Mayor. I'd just like to also acknowledge the Parks and Recs Department. There's a tremendous amount of effort that goes into putting on that holiday parade, and they were out there in the weather all day, and not to mention all the events that happened on Saturday. The department did a tremendous job, and just really appreciate all the efforts of staff.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is hearings. Item 23, a public hearing to consider an ordinance repealing Title V, Sanitation and Health, Chapter 11, Organic Waste Disposal of the Modesto Municipal Code in its entirety, repealing and replacing Title V, Chapter 5, Solid Waste of the Modesto Municipal Code, approving an updated cash security deposit schedule for self-haul charges, establishing an annual 9.9% franchise fee in accordance with Assembly Bill 939, and rescinding Resolution Number 98-113. Welcome for staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Rosine Selmo, Integrated Waste Program Manager. Today we are proposing a few updates to our municipal code, Title 5, Chapter 11, as well as Chapter 5. So Public Works staff, solid waste staff are responsible for periodically reviewing and updating the municipal code to ensure that we are complying with state regulations. Some of the proposed revisions include merging Title V, Chapter 11 into Title V, Chapter 5, which is the solid waste chapter. Bring the municipal code in line with the new 3-can collection system adopted by Council in June 2022, as well as updating the language to comply with car recycle requirements. Thank you. So as part of SB 1383, City of Modesto was required to adopt an ordinance for organic waste disposal. The ordinance outlined the requirements for generators, haulers, and processing of organic materials. The effort was duplicated by Section Title 5, Chapter 11. With this merge, we are repealing Title V, Chapter 11. Few of the notable changes that we are proposing is adding a 3-container system to match with the requirements for SB 1383, updating definitions to also comply with SB 1383 requirements, and also we're proposing to update numbers and section numbers throughout the entire Chapter 5. Also, we are requesting to change and update the minimum requirements for number of containers, solid waste containers. We are also updating the language for shared services, language for solid waste enclosure requirements, self-haul requirements, as well as adding a new section regarding multifamily bulky item collection program. So updating the self-haul deposit, the definition of self-haul is basically, it allows people to dispose of their solid waste on their own rather than using our solid waste haulers. And it was adopted in February 24, 1998, and it has not been changed ever since. So we are proposing to change the security deposit schedule, as well as adding a 9.9% franchise fees in accordance with Assembly Bill 939. Staff is recommending motion approving and repealing Title V, Sanitation and Health, Chapter 11, Organic Waste Disposal of the Modesto Municipal Code in its entirety, and repealing and replacing Title V, Chapter 5, Solid Waste of the Modesto Municipal Code, approve the resolution updating the schedule of cash security deposit to be charged to residents and businesses for self-haul of solid waste in the City of Modesto, establishing an annual 9.9% franchise fees in accordance with the Assembly Bill 939, and ascending resolution number 98113. Thank you.
All right, so did you want to do this in 2 parts? Is that how we're doing this? Or just questions? Does that cover both, the motion and the resolution?
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. Bill Sandu, Public Works Director. So both of these items are combined in one presentation. But at this point, we concluded our presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions from council members? Vice Mayor Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. The 9.9%, that's a fee that our haulers are charging us, correct?
That is correct. So that 9.9% is that haulers are paying as a franchise fee to the city. That's the lowest hauler is paying. One is paying 9.9, other one is around 10. So that's the franchise fees. That's part of the franchise fees goes to streets, and part of that goes to general fund.
Okay, so that fee is not going to stay with us. That fee goes to the state and goes to the haulers, correct?
The haulers collected,
Right.
and they transmit to the city. The franchise fee stays with the city. It's used for to fund part of streets programs and part of general fund.
Okay, thank you.
So what's happened here is the haulers, most of the residents already pay franchise fees through haulers, but the self-haul, which we currently only have 10 self-haul, they were not paying that. So this is pretty much bringing everybody to same level, even if you're self-haul or you go through work with the haulers.
Okay, thank you.
And it's existing fees for all the residents except self-haul. So it's not new fees. For the self-haul, it wasn't implemented. That's where it's going for now.
All right, Councilmember Escudia Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that presentation. Very interesting. This subject is never ending. It's quite complex. Can you elaborate more on the, under Title 5-5.112, shared solid waste containers? What's the language that's being modified in that section?
Yes, so currently, the language we're requesting is that next-door neighbors are allowed to share with each other. Before, the language was not specified to next-door neighbor, and the reason why we added next-door neighbor because we want to reduce littering and neighbors or people transferring solid waste from the north to the south. That's why we are proposing next-door neighbor.
Okay, and if I understand you correctly, what that in basic says is two individuals living within close proximity to each other can share a solid waste container.
And that includes all three containers.
Therefore, not one container, but two individuals living next to each other in close proximity can choose to pay one utility bill and share all the containers, the black, the green, and the red. Not just one, but it has to be all three.
Correct. And there is a contract that they have to fill out, and we do have a number of minimum people living in each household because we can make sure that we don't have overflowing of waste.
And where would one go if they want to participate in something like this?
Yeah, it's solid waste email, or they can call us directly.
Okay, great. Thank you. When you made reference to 10 self-haulers, the 10, are we referring to residential?
Yes,
Those
we
are
have.
mainly
yes,
residential,
we
that's
have
correct.
10 residentials, no businesses.
Okay. And my last question is just to clarify, I received a lot of calls from constituents when recently we were delivering the blue recycled cans. A lot of comments and feelings about just the whole recycling program. I just want to reiterate the fact that what we're doing as per state mandate, and we are evaluating it for a year, collecting data. And once we see how it's going based on the data, we'll reevaluate whether this program is working for the community, and if not, make adjustments accordingly.
So Council Member, that's a great question. So currently we have two can system. We have black can for garbage and green for organics. They're picked up weekly basis. So with the new program, we will have 3 can system. Garbage can, which is black, can still be picked up on weekly basis, but your blue and green will be picked up every other week. So that is as a pilot project, like we discussed when we were working on this program. We will gather the data for a year. By end of next year, we will have the data and bring the recommendations back to the council.
Thank you both.
All right, Vice Mayor Wright.
That brings up another question. So in a year, if we find out that our blue cans, that majority of our residents are recycling themselves and not using the blue cans, will there be any type of way to relook at that to see if we can only pick up the blue cans maybe once a month?
That is a possibility as long as it meets SB 1383 requirements. So that's at that point, once we collect all the data, that how much material is being collected by the blue cans, we will have that information. So as long as it meets the SB 1383 requirement, that may be one of the options that may be considered at that time.
Thank you.
All right, any other further questions from council? All right, I will now open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public to come forward regarding this item, item 23? I do not see anyone online or in person, so I will close the public comments. Are there any council member comments?
Move to approve.
All right, we have a motion from now. No, it doesn't start till January 1st. Councilmember Ricky, and a second from Councilmember Bavaro. Will the city clerk please call the roll?
We'll do the resolution first.
Oh,
and then the
sorry,
ordinance,
sorry.
Mayor.
2 votes. We only discussed this how many times over the last week? So I need a motion, which we just had, introducing and waiving the first reading of the ordinance repealing Title V, Sanitation and Health, Chapter 11, Organic Waste Disposal of the Modesto Municipal Code in its entirety, and repealing and replacing Title V. So I have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye, so that carries 7-0. The next is a resolution updating the schedule of cash security deposits to be charged to residents and businesses for self-haul of solid waste in the City of Modesto, establishing an annual 9.9% franchise fee in accordance with Assembly Bill 939 and rescinding Resolution Number 98-113. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Scudia-Brayton. I'll second it, and will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Wright.
No.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro. And Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye, so that carries 6-1. Next, on to new business. Item 24, consider approving a resolution authorizing the City of Modesto to utilize the services of Mark Murphy on an interim basis to fulfill the duties of traffic engineer for a limited duration of up to 6 months or until the recruitment is completed, whichever is first. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Christina Alger, Director of Human Resources. CalPERS allows limited rehiring of retirees, and depending on the type of hire request, there are specific steps that we must follow. In the case of tonight's request, a resolution by Council allows us the authorization to hire the retiree. Staff requests the hiring of Mark Murphy to fulfill the duties of traffic engineer for a limited term while a recruitment is executed and the position is permanently filled. The position became vacant November 1st. This function is very critical to the operations of the Public Works Department as well as the city. Mark Murphy previously worked for the city for 33 years and was our previous traffic engineer. He will be able to seamlessly perform the duties until the recruitment has concluded.
All right, thank you for that report. Does council have any questions of staff? Seeing none, are there any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding item 24? Seeing none, council member comments. All right, I have a resolution authorizing the City of Modesto to utilize the services of Mark Murphy on an interim basis to fulfill the duties of traffic engineer for a limited duration of up to 6 months or until the recruitment is completed, whichever is first, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to take the necessary steps to implement the provisions of this action. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember
Second.
Williams,
Second.
a second by Vice Mayor Wright, and will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Aye.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye, so it carries 7-0. Are there any matters too late for the agenda? Seeing none, I am calling this meeting of the City Council to be adjourned.